I would like to hear Jeshua address the following issue brought to my attention by one who does not embrace our path or beliefs. This person quotes, "The message from Jeshua tends to privatize spirituality and right action. One could easily forget or rationalize away one's responsibility to the poor and oppressed." End quote.
Indeed, beloved friend, it is with great joy that we come forth in this hour to address this specific question. For indeed it is a question that has been brought forth by many, many minds in many epochs. For you see, there is a tendency for the human mind to separate spirituality into two camps. There have always been those that sought to separate themselves from culture, from community, from daily life, and to run off to their caves and their monasteries in order to seek a purely interior relationship with God. Now, there's nothing wrong with creating a purely interior relationship with God, since that is the truth of your fundamental reality. However, when the mind holds the perception that it must separate itself from what it perceives the world to be in order to discover God, that mind is already beginning its search on a faulty premise. For this means that one is still a victim of the world, and that the world holds a power to separate you from awareness of love's presence. Now, in the other camp, there are those who would wish to believe that genuine spirituality means constantly being engaged in finding someone to help or to fix. But this itself is also but an expression of egoic consciousness. If only I can do for others, then I will validate my worthiness, not just to myself, not just to God, but my neighbors will see all the grand works that I do. So let me indeed rush about to feed the hungry and clothe the naked and house the cold. And of course, whenever I gather with my friends at a cocktail party, I'll let them know what I've been doing all week. Each approach is founded in egoism. Now, in the latter camp, there are those who would seek to render service to others and perceive spirituality to require sacrifice of time, of energy, of money. It doesn't matter as long as the idea of sacrifice is, shall we say, fulfilled. I want to share with you that none of these approaches is genuinely what could be called spirituality. Anyone who has ever come into contact with what I teach, not just through this, my beloved brother, but through any of the other numbers of channels or friends through whom I am communicating with your world. If anyone would but read A Course in Miracles, if anyone would but read the sentences printed in red in their holy Bibles, some of those are actually genuinely what I taught, would be hard-pressed to overlook the most fundamental of teachings that I've offered. First, the greatest of gifts, the highest form of service that you can give to anyone is to assume responsibility for your underlying sense of separation from God and to rectify that mistaken perception. That is where spirituality must start. For until that is accomplished, all of your doing in the world will be clouded with egoism. Those who strive for peace would do well to first become established in true peace within themselves. Those that seek to serve the hungry would do well to nourish themselves until they are filled, not with that which satisfies the body, but with that which satisfies the soul. For only when the soul is brought back into perfect alignment with its established unity with God, can the wisdom of God inform that soul, that person, in which actions truly serve the highest good. Without it, one will merely use ideas learned from the world and will try to be the maker and the doer of its service. This is based on the assumption that one knows what their brother and sister needs. Therefore, if you see one who is hungry and sitting on the side of the street saying, "Here, give me a few shekels of coins so that I can go and eat," if you perceived spirituality as being a duty to the oppressed, the poor and the hungry, you would immediately look about to see what you can do for that person based on their request, and more importantly, based on what you perceive is amiss. But how do you know that there is something amiss? Because a soul has chosen to create a situation in which they have no job, no home, and no friends. Remember always that each mind literally creates its lived experience in this domain. There is no such thing as victimization, and oppression does not come from without. Oppression is a perception created within that mind. Anyone who looks upon the history of humanity can recognize many instances in so-called oppressive situations where individuals have simply chosen not to be oppressed and have moved with freedom and with dignity even into what appears to be death. Therefore, beloved friend, understand this well. Relationship is the means to your salvation. But the fundamental relationship that must be rectified, must be nourished, must be healed, must be cultivated, is your direct and immediate union with and communication with your Creator. When this is established, the soul rests in perfect peace. It is far transcended the impulse to be the doer and the maker. It looks out upon a world completely forgiven. In your language, let off the hook. One does not look out and see a world that must be saved. One no longer looks out and sees a world in travail. One merely becomes the servant of the extension of love, and makes no pretense that it knows beforehand what that should look like. But in every moment and with every breath, that mind merely asks within, "Father, what would you have me do this day? How might I be of service as your plan for the atonement is achieved in human consciousness?" One learns to listen to that inner voice that might very well say, I want you to establish hospices in every city in the world. Begin now. That same voice might say to you, go and sit by the park this day and forget the world. Breathe deeply of the angel of air. Let the angels of sound of the running waters fill your soul and heal your bodies. Nourish yourself today. Go watch a movie. Play with your friends. Read a good book. Have a cup of tea. Those that believe spirituality rests on how much service is given to the oppressed might never hear the voice that says, include yourself in the circle of your love. Therefore, enlightenment, awakening, requires that all vestiges of the world mind are cast aside, and one rests in that perfect truth which can inform perfect action, right action through you. Again, the fulcrum of what I am sharing rests on this. Without the interiorization, the process of cultivating the healing of your misperception that you've ever been separate from God, without cultivating deep self-love, not love of ego, but love of self. Without that, the deep silence required, wherein one hears the voice of the Comforter, is never achieved. And only that voice, the right-mindedness within you, can perfectly inform your actions in the world. Therefore, he who follows me indeed journeys to the desert for 40 days and 40 nights, and leaves his friends and disciples and businesses and associates to go off and be alone for prayer, for cultivating daily the process of seeking first the kingdom, that all things, including how you can be of service, might be added unto you. Think not for yourself, but love the self enough to surrender the world into God's hands, and see it not as a place that needs you to fix it, for of yourself you can do nothing. I am the vine, and you are the branches. Remember always that without the Christ mind dwelling within you, that of yourself you can do nothing, and your service, though laudable in the eyes of the world, means nothing.
I understand that the path of the poor and oppressed is their path. However, when and how will they understand, comprehend that they are not victims, and how can they too participate in embracing ascension? Do we have a responsibility to bring the message, help them spiritually and physically to throw off the bonds? I feel a need to share the love. How is this to be done?
Beloved friend, when you look upon one who you would perceive as poor, hungry, or oppressed, first, pause and look within yourself. What part of you is feeling poor? What part of you perceives yourself as hungry? Where within your own being do you feel oppressed? And then take steps to rectify these perceptions by healing your life of their energies. When you look then upon another again, always cultivate first the ability to see the very essence of their soul, for they are pure consciousness, pure divinity. They are like a sunbeam to the sun, yet given perfect free will choice, their journey has been as long as yours, and as varied. Therefore, when you look upon them, see them in and held by the light of God. Why is this important? It is not just mental gymnastics. For as you see another, you will see yourself. And as you see yourself, so too will your brother come to see you. If you wish to help another be lifted up out of their misperception that suffering is a requirement, then be you therefore committed to being the embodiment of one who has awakened to the truth and lives it, who breathes it, who acts it, who thinks it, who talks it without ceasing. Now, when will they come, those that you perceive to be oppressed? And rest assured, in any given moment, when you look upon one who's sitting by the wall on the sidewalk with the little tin cup saying, I need some money, you need only go within and ask the Holy Spirit, is it appropriate now for me to render any form of service to this my brother or sister? The answer will not be hidden from you. Again, that returns us to the point of not thinking for yourself, but turning all decisions over to the one teacher and guide given unto you, the bridge between the love of the Father and the place of your soul, the Holy Spirit. When will they arise from their slumber? Beloved friend, when did you arise from yours? You may not remember that hour and that day, but there was a moment from within your consciousness, it may not even have been in this incarnation, when something changed. And a decision was made not to accept limitation, not to accept pain and the guilt of perceiving yourself as separate from the source of your creation. Therefore know well that you, no one, not even I, can force another to arise, and no one can do it for another. You can, of course, listen to the Comforter's guidance so that love is extended through you appropriately in each and every moment, and then release yourself from being attached to that extension, whatever it may be, whether it be a golden coin or a meal or a new Mercedes. It doesn't matter. It might be just a gentle smile. For as you choose to extend love by first abiding in the reality that you are the presence of love, having been made in God's image, you provide for your brother or sister the opportunity to recognize the presence of love and decide anew for him or herself. And if you are guided to feed them, then prepare them a meal, let them eat it, but be not attached to the fruit of that meal. See their essence, love them, and live your life in fulfillment. Far too many seek to assist others when all it does is truly oppress them, because it does not empower them to take responsibility for the choices that they have made and the effects that have come from them. Do not just give money indiscriminately to those that say, oh, I'm broke, do you have an extra $5? Go within and ask, am I just in my neediness to be a helper and a fixer? Can I surrender this and just ask, Holy Spirit, what would you have me do? Or say, I am completely unattached to my need to be of service. When will they arise and know ascension? When they decide to, just like you did. And how can you extend love, beloved friend? By giving that love first to yourself. For if you are not fed deeply, you cannot feed another. Therefore lay up for yourselves treasures which are in heaven, that is, cultivate higher consciousness, cleanse and purify your communication device, the body. Make it as radiant and as beautiful and as healthy as you wish it to be. Create abundance in your own life. Feel rich and wealthy in God's love so that your cup can organically and naturally overflow. If there are two that are hungry, it is wise that one arise and learn to feed themselves. Then the Holy Spirit can use your gifts, use your power to assist in genuine service to others.
Jeshua, how does one teach a young child peace and love when they are acting out their fear and anger?
Beloved friend, this could indeed be a whole year's tape series in itself. However, for the sake of this hour, we would say this unto you. Remember well that when you perceive a child acting out their anger, their fear, whatever it may be, first ask yourself, are you sure it's theirs? Just because it is being expressed where their body seems to be. For be of assuredness that children come into this world sparkling clean. They are very clear and very, very sensitive. Therefore, if there are emotions that the parents are not dealing with within themselves, if there is lack of communication between the parents, if there is anger that has been repressed in the mother or the father, then indeed the child will know it. And often will begin to unconsciously act it out since nobody else is bothering to, shall we say, clear the decks and be honest. Therefore, first ask yourself, how do you know it's their anger? Ask the Holy Spirit, what is the source of this? The answer will not be hidden. Now, how to help them? Where you perceive anger in another, first make sure that you are clear of anger within yourself. Then as you look upon the child, remember that that child is perfectly free now. Ask of yourself, does their anger, their acting out, push your buttons? Can you give them the space and the freedom to act out that anger, to move that energy in a way that is healthful and helpful? Can you allow them to do so and convey to them that this looks like fun? Maybe I'll join you. And start to move your body the way they're moving their body. Make the sounds that they are making and tell them straight out like an adult. Stop talking gibberish to children, for they are as old as you are the moment they are born. Tell them in perfectly clear adult language, anger is perfectly okay. Let's get into it and see how it feels in the body. Have fun with it. Make it as charged as possible, and you will find that in a very short moment the anger will shift and the children will begin to feel a sense of play. For they will know that they have been accepted and that there is nothing wrong with them the way that they are, just because they don't conform to adult perceptions. Does not make them wrong. How then do you teach them of peace? By being peace yourself. How then do you teach them to cultivate peace? By not hiding from them your own emotions. By living honestly, not hurtfully, but honestly. Yes, I'm feeling angry right now. It makes my stomach tight and my shoulders crinkle up into my ears. It makes my knuckles get white and I just want to stamp my feet. Well, do it. Right there in front of the child. And as you start to feel better, you can smile and say, see how easy it is? I think I'll just be at peace now. Therefore, always remember that the greatest of gifts you can give to a child is to be the living embodiment and model of one who does not deny or repress their humanity. Beloved friend, each relationship is a teaching and learning relationship. Therefore, when a child seems to be acting out their anger, first give them the space to do it and observe the child. How do they move their body? Do they just live in their head, or is their whole being involved in it? What can you learn from the child? And when the anger has subsided, always, always, always wrap your arms around them, at least metaphorically. Let them know that you love them. Let them know they're okay. Let them know that, yes, you too know that sometimes it's a little hard to be in the world, and that you thank them for being present in your life because you are committed to learning from them as much as you are committed to teaching them. Cease, everyone that could hear these words upon your planet, cease treating children like second-class, incapable people. Their consciousness is clear and bright. Talk to them like an adult. Live like a mature adult in your relationships with them. Give this a try, beloved friend. There is much here for you if you will but cultivate the treasure within these words.